For Lesson 3's homework, we're going to work on how we graph some of our, I would say, new challenging functions and identify some of the key pieces about it. So for the first one, we want to graph f of x equals negative x squared minus 4x minus 5. Now, this is going to be pretty challenging without a graphing calculator, which unfortunately I can't bring up on the screen with me at the moment, but I'll just kind of do some of the work on the side and talk you through it. So the first thing we want to do is we want to go into y equals on our calculator. Next to y1, we want to put negative x squared minus 4x minus 5. And then we want to hit second and then graph to get to our table. All right, and with a lot of these quadratic functions, it's really important that we use our table and not just try to estimate the points from the picture. Now, normally I would say it's pretty safe to put about anywhere between 5 and 7 points on our table. And usually what I try to do is I try to find our balancing point or our turning point, which in this case, when I put it into my calculator, I end up with -2 for x and -1 for y. So I'm going to try to build some of our other points from there. So -3, -4. Do I have enough space to build? I do have enough space for -5. So if I went 3 points above, I'm going to go 3 points below as well. And as I get these values from my table, I have -5, -10. I have -4, -5. I have -3, -2. And then if you notice, the tables are mirrored on both sides. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a second and I'm going to graph all of those points. So there's -5, -10, -4, -5, -3, -2, -2, -1, and then I will do my mirror points on the other side. And I'll do my best to connect them in a U-shape pattern. They did not tell me a starting and a stopping point, so I'm going to put arrows on both sides. And now that we have it graphed, we're going to answer our questions. We want to state the y-intercept. So that is that point right there where it intersects the y-axis. It's also where x is equal to 0. The coordinates of that point are 0, -5. So therefore, our y-intercept is -5. State the x value of our relative maximum point. So maximum we should recognize as our highest point. For this problem, that is right there. The coordinates of that point are -2, -1. So the x value for that point is going to be -2. The last piece is one that I find to be a little challenging for kids, and that is state the domain over which f is increasing. So that's as you go from left to right, your graph is in some sort of an upward motion. Could be curved, could be a straight line. Now I drew the arrows pointing to the right, but they're not always pointing that way. And you'll see that as in this case here, this is the section of our graph that is increasing, because as we go from left to right, our graph is going up. Now you'll see with the arrow pointing down on the graph, that means this graph is going to keep going on forever. So realistically, our starting point is going to be -infinity. And I'm going to start this in interval notation. So infinities and negative infinities always get parentheses. Comma, at what point does it stop? Well, the x value where it stops is -2. Okay, increasing, decreasing are always x intervals. And we're going to put another parenthesis around that piece. So it starts increasing at when x is -infinity, which I know is not a number, it's a representation. And it's going to keep increasing all the way until x is -2, and then the graph will change from increasing to decreasing. For our second question, y equals absolute value x plus 4, again, we're going to want to use our calculator. Okay, we're going to want to make a table. Now at this point, though, it's over the interval -6 less than or equal to x less than or equal to +6. So what that means is we need to make sure that we don't have any arrows on this graph. It is only going to go as high as -6 and as low as +6 on our table. And we're going to do our best to fill in every point in between. I'll make my table a little bit bigger, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And all of these values we are just going to get out of our calculator. And it's going to look a little bit like this. Hold on, just give me 1 second to plug it into my calculator, and let's see what we get here. So at 6 we get 10, then 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. And then you'll notice if you put it into your calculator correctly, you will start counting back up once you get to -5. So if we go to plot those points, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So -6, 2, -5, 1, -4, 0, and so on. What we end up with is we end up with a check mark, basically. And again, because it said over the interval, -6 less than or equal to x less than or equal to 6, that means we have no arrows on this graph. So we have a very clear starting and stopping point, and this is what our graph of y equals absolute value x plus 4 is going to look like over that interval.